Title character movies are coming out this weekend, so let's see which one takes home the trophy. And yes, I'm wearing the same shirt I did in my last review. I watched it, I promise. Okay, so Lucy. Lucy is a science fiction movie starring Scarlett Johansson and is directed by Luc Besson, and it's about a student who's studying abroad named Lucy. She's a drug mule and she has to transport this newly developed drug to its supplier. A couple things go wrong and Lucy eventually finds out that the drugs are in her stomach. One of the drug bags inside her pops and then this new drug spreads all around her body. And because of the new drug, it allows her to use her brain far more than its normal capacity. And in this movie, we see Lucy gaining more and more control of her brain. Now I have to admit, I was really interested in seeing Lucy, because the whole concept is the normal person uses 10% capacity of their brain. But what happens if the person reaches up to 100%? I find that really fascinating. Unfortunately, Lucy wasn't all that fascinating. Now let me start off by saying that Scarlett Johansson did fantastic in this movie. Her acting abilities are improving by a lot and I'm starting to take her more seriously as an actress. So Scarlett Johansson, you did awesome. I'm gonna be honest, the only reason why I saw this movie is because of Scarlett Johansson, and she is hot. And when I say this movie isn't all that fascinating, I mean that some of it was and some of it wasn't. I was split down the middle. Because as the movie progresses, it shows what brain capacity Lucy is at. For example, it would show that Lucy's at 20% and then it would show that she's at 30%. And from there, you know how far it's gonna reach. You know she's gonna reach to 100%. It's a really interesting way to tell the story, but that also means that some really bad pacing issues. You would be at 20% brain capacity and then it would take 1 minute for her to reach 30%. But then it would take a whopping 40 minutes to get to 40% brain capacity? With her brain capacity improving, it was just all over the place and it just didn't make sense to me. However, they do explain how far the brain can go thanks to Morgan Freeman's character. I thought he did a pretty good job, by the way. He's a professor that studies brain neurons, and him explaining how far the brain can go, I thought that was really interesting. I was actually invested in his research. Not because it's Morgan Freeman's voice teaching the lesson, but the concepts behind it. Where do I sign up for Morgan Freeman's class? I really want to take that class. Once again, I'm not a science person, but if a movie actually gets me invested in the research, it gives it points. Good job, movie. When you first see Lucy get her powers, you're just like, awesome, she's like controlling people and shit. She's like tossing people with her mind and can read other people's brain capacity. That must be one hell of a drug. Seriously, where do I get it? I mean, shit, who doesn't want the Force? My Star-Lord bobblehead. So in the first half of the movie, when she gets her powers, really interesting, but the second half, it just gets really ridiculous. And I'm not going to tell you guys what she's later capable of, but seriously, there are scenes in the end of the movie where you're just watching and you're like, what in the world is going on? It's as if she was on like a major acid trip, but she's basically on drugs, so. And the movie had one of those endings where you're just like, you better not fucking end right here. If you end right here, movie, I'm gonna be pissed. And then it does end right there and you're just yeah, makes me cry. So Lucy was an interesting sci-fi with some pretty bad pacing. Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman, they do really good in the movie. The first half was really interesting and the second half was just no. And the ending, oh my god. I hated it. But is it worth watching? Sure, but you should just honestly wait for the red box on this one. You'll be a lot happier if you did. So have you guys seen Lucy? What did you guys think about it? Be sure to leave a like and comment on the video, and as always, there is a link below for my Twitter account and my Facebook. Keep in contact with me. But in the meantime, I have to get going. And I promise I won't wear the same shirt as I did the next review.